Cedar side up. Shifty work into the box. And across. It's in. Oh, it's Loho. It's a dream return.
Welcome to Casual FC, an Angel City preview pod. I'm your host, Mario Salazar, with my ever networking, getting herself right co-host, Angela Morales, making the things work.
I do what I can.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk to and get to know one of our supporters groups who make up the heart and soul of La Fortaleza in the north end of the stadium. Our special guests are Shayla and Kris from the supporters group AC Pandemonium.
Woo!
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. So first thing in our script right here, introduce yourselves.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kris Rosari, president of AC Pandemonium. I'm also a doctor of physical therapy. I practice all over Southern California, and it is like an absolute pleasure to be a part of this ACFC community. I can't talk highly enough. I love talking about this community. I love being a part of it and creating beautiful, magical things in this soccer universe.
Yeah, that's great. And Shayla?
Hi, my name is Shayla Pham. I am the secretary of AC Pandemonium. My resume is a lot less impressive than Kris's. Right now, I'm a student. This is like my frat. Like, this is my sorority. So
Yes.
It does bring me like a lot of pride to be like, yes, Pandemonium, like those are my people. So that's what I would equate it to if you want to put it into like one words that aren't just, wow, this is my community.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've been with Pandemonium since almost the inception. I came a little bit late, but I've been literally in Pandemonium since I was 17 years old. I mean, that if that doesn't make you feel bad, I'm only turning 21 this year.
That still makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
There's like a whole almost adult in between you and me.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's another
it's-
Shayla.
Yeah, there's like
It's like you could fit like one of my lifetimes.
yeah, but, like our age gap is a whole almost one of your lifetimes. That's bonkers.
Yeah.
That I feel so old.
No, like I love being in the Porters group and in this space with Shayla. Yeah, she's like half my age, but it's so brilliant, like being here just because, or being like a part of it, just because you get to meet people like Shayla, you get to connect with people like Shayla. She's literally growing up in this space, and it's beautiful to see. Like, it's awesome to be her friend and
I
her
graduated high
family
school in
member.
Pandemonium.
Yeah, you did. We
Wow.
graduated.
Oh
We
my
celebrated.
gosh.
Oh,
Yeah, we
man.
celebrated your graduation of high school.
I'm gonna
Amazing.
graduate from college in Pandemonium.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's literally
If you go to
yours.
grad school, you're gonna go to grad school in Pandemonium. Like, this is, you don't need to rush it. Like you said, like this is
if
fraternity.
this whole
this is a
Angel City
sorority.
thing works out for a while, like it will be like there's something like Kobe said once that his career with the Lakers was twice his lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say now it's sad, but at the time it was not sad. But I think of it like that. I think Pandemonium and the like club at large is gonna be a part of me for a really long time. And that's the generationalness that you are missing with women's soccer specifically, is don't really have that generational passing down of the torch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, there's like a skipped generation or in between. Yeah.
that's the great thing we've been finding as we've been having these conversations with all the groups is how much more this is to the people in these groups, how much more this means to the members of, this is not just a supporters group. It's your people, it's your vibe, it's everything. It's now pretty much your best friends, right? You're like,
Yeah, it's your friends, your family. Like 3 years ago, I didn't know Mario, and now he's a pinned text message in like on my iPhone.
Oh yeah.
Like he very quickly shot to the top. Like it went from us being like, oh yeah, like we should do this, that would be fun, to texting each other all day, every
Daily.
day. Yeah, just random ideas, random other silly things. And
I mean, the
Rose.
iPhone top 8.
Yeah, exactly. My top 9, because I can't pin anymore.
Yeah, that really shows,
But
like who you speak to
yeah,
every day.
and so many of the, I mean, in all the conversations we've had with supporter groups, people outside of groups, like everyone is finding their little faction. And this is why we wanted to really spotlight every supporter group, because we want people to find their people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like as vast and informative as the internet can be, it's also sometimes hard to find the things you need to find. So if we can shine a spotlight where we can, obviously, we're going to do it.
Yeah, you heard of that quote, your vibe attracts your tribe. And absolutely, like, at least like with this particular like group, like that's what kind of makes us like who we are. It's like all of us vibe together. We have like very similar personalities or interests, and that's like how we bonded together. But also, we kind of shared that same sort of history of finding friendship, finding community in like a pandemic. Like we didn't have
Yeah.
like much places to go, and it was like so hard, obviously, for a lot of us to navigate that. And
You mean
like,
you've never lived through a global
isn't
pandemic
that
before?
great?
Jeez.
Like, how do we do this? And like we did our absolute best, and like we found each other in this like this little Discord space. Yeah, and so like just an online chat community. So it was a
I mean,
definitely
I, for one, have never heard of that quote until just now. But, like,
Where-
just attesting to that is
or,
literally
like,
I've never heard.
live, laugh, love, and like one of those.
Okay, I have never heard of that specifically. Live, laugh,
at
love, and
Target.
like all of those. The Ray
Just go
Dunn
to Home
collection.
Goods. They're
Yeah, Home
there.
Goods.
Like,
I just need to go to Marshalls. Actually, no, TJ Maxx.
yeah.
Marshalls has strayed away from the Ray Dunn collection, unfortunately. They've been like sending all of that to Home Goods and TJ Maxx. Like just attesting to like Kris said, I think especially during the pandemic, all we had was community, right? And
Mhm.
at first that kind of starts with like your tangible community, like the people you're around, and especially because you couldn't go anywhere, right? So all you really had were the people around you and the people that could support you. So, and especially forming Pandemonium during the pandemic, I think it was super important that we needed to support each other in ways that were not just finding friends, being like another
Yeah.
like out of like distraction, almost like another like alleyway to go down and just have like your like little like corner of your life. But it grew into this massive, almost encompassing community, right? Because at the end, what was most important was that we needed to support each other. And especially in the tough times, it was important that we all checked up on each other. And
Yeah.
being virtual at that, you don't have the kind of like interconnectedness you do now where you can go see someone at their house. Before you couldn't see someone at their house without giving them a 6 days notice. So having all of that
I don't mind
in like
the
the
6 day
Discord.
notice.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't mind
like
like
that
a
should stay.
6-month
things
notice.
that came out of the pandemic were like, give me 6 feet and 6 days. Just let me stay an arm's distance away, and I'll let you know if you can come closer.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think like mostly having that sense of community and looking out for each other kind of became less of a necessary, but also became almost like a group-wide ethos almost to look out for each other in the spaces where people may not be able to look out for themselves, and supporting each other in ways that people that you see literally every single day, 24 hours a day, couldn't help you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a different level of friendship. And I think that honestly, Shayla, you really encapsulated it in the sense that it's like a Greek organization. It's a sorority, a fraternity. It's a club, because it's not like in the truest sense of the form.
Thank you for saying club and not cult, because that's something that we've been trying to tell people.
If you want it to be, I guess that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, culture. Yeah.
That's a good one.
But it's not just like friends where you're like, oh yeah, these are the people I hang out with at the game. It's these are the people I hang out with at the game and grab lunch with on the weekends. And I'm at their family's birthday parties and weddings. And like it starts to grow and become more intricate. And I think that's where it surpasses just like a community group. It's not just a group of people. It's a group of people who have become so closely tied.
Right, chosen
Absolutely.
family.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Exactly.
So
how did you guys come to the sport? Each one of you, did you play when you were younger? Are you a recent inductee? Did you because we've talked about this before where Angela like really got into it around 2015, like the World Cup. I started off playing soccer as like any good Latino boy. But yeah, how did you guys come to it?
Yeah. So for me, I'm Filipino American. And so a lot of the sports that like a lot of my cousins would play, the ones that like I really looked up to, would be like basketball and like volleyball. And like actually, like my introduction to sports with the use of or like kicking a ball with your feet is like a traditional one in like Southeast Asia. It's called sepak takraw. And so it's like volleyball, soccer. If you can combine those
Whoa.
sports, yeah, it's like Shaolin soccer if you put that together. But it's pretty much like kicking the ball. Obviously, you can't touch it with your hands, kicking the ball over like a net
Mhm.
back and forth. And so that was my introduction to at least like what I've seen because like my cousins would play, or if you go to a family party, like
Those
that's
are
what I would
skills
play.
I do not possess. I have
My
hand-eye
cousins.
coordination. I don't have foot-hand. Like I
Right.
can't.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. So like it that was what I was introduced to. And then like more of a larger like group play that you would see that like at school. And then so like I was introduced to that to actual soccer like in school in those spaces.
Yeah.
And then I ended up playing because like my mom and my dad, they put my brother and I into so many different sports. I played everything like from tennis to basketball is something that we did. We did dance, so it was more Polynesian dancing, and so like that kind of stuck with us. And then soccer I played in high school, so just for 2 seasons, but that was my extent of playing it. I wasn't good or bad. It was just I never like really pursued it, but like I
Mhm.
do enjoy sports just because of my exposure to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that just kept going with you, or did it? Because for me, at least, it fell off. Like I played up until high school, and then soccer, like even following soccer or things like that, fell off for me. So did it fall off for you too? And then you just came back to it?
I've always been like a fan of watching the sport, right? Like I've met so many people with just like watching like basketball, going to live games. That was a lot of fun. And also my family owned a bar when I was like around like 21 to like about 27. And like we would show sports and like I would be the only one like really advocating, hey, can we watch women's basketball? Can we watch, hey, it's like the World Cup and can we watch it? And so I remember putting that on for 2015 and like there was like a nice little community that like I had created over there just by working the bar, but also they would come and visit and they would just ask me questions about the sport. So I would always just be like watching, but I wouldn't play. So I fell off as well as far as like playing it myself. Of course, in like college we would play like intramural. I would do some like pickup games here and there, but that's as far as like playing it would go. But yeah, I've always just been around it.
No, that's awesome. And how about you, Shayla?
For me, I didn't really play soccer very much growing up. I played here and there at recess, but it was always something, especially in Southeast Asia, soccer is like a very up and coming sport. And because of
Mhm.
how a lot of the European teams are approaching globalization, and at the time, that was a big thing to get into the Asian markets, right? Growing up, I watched a lot of soccer because that's what they would push in Asian media as the sport to watch. My dad always watched soccer. My uncle watched soccer, not necessarily stateside, but they caught on to international soccer a lot.
Mhm.
And besides that, they watch basketball. That's like the Southeast Asian thing to do. I also played basketball. I probably played baseball the most out of all of those, but
I love
um,
that.
but yeah, I've always been a fan. Like some of my earliest soccer memories are of like very specifically being at the babysitters. I don't even know how old I was, but I remember the 2010 World Cup being on the TV. So that's my earliest soccer memory, right? As soon as you can have a coherent memory, it's not like a memory of a memory, but something that you
Mhm.
actually like proceed yourself and set that someone didn't tell you that happened when you were
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah.
That's like literally one of my earliest memories. I'm pretty sure I don't really remember who played it, but I'm pretty sure it was Chile was playing in that game. I honestly don't know. I could probably look it up and make a lie, but and that might be a task for me to do later. But I've always been a fan. I started watching women's soccer probably around 2012 because of the Olympics.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That was what was what cool at the time to be like 9 or 12 or something. I don't know. Must have watched the Olympics. in 2012. I don't know why, but that was what was cool. So that's how I got into women's soccer specifically. But growing up, I've always been a fan of like every single sport. I played until high school, but I stopped playing very competitively probably before high school. Like I knew I was never going to be that good to have like pursued anything higher than high school sports. So that was just like the reality of that. But I did take like a really big jump away from following women's soccer like very diligently because ever since let's say 2016 and onward, I followed the NSL pretty closely because at the time you could still watch the games without subscriptions because you can watch them with Go90 or YouTube or whatever. So
yeah.
it was accessible at the time. Terrible quality, but it was accessible nevertheless.
The terrible quality
And then
built
I took-
character. Very, really, truly.
Right.
It built patience
It's like,
and the ability to persevere through insane levels of buffering and pixelation. Yeah, those streams were bad.
I remember there was like a Western New York Flash game and it was like pizza night or something. And they were like playing on the baseball field. And I don't even know like why I remember that specific instance, but I remember the Spurful draft for the Boston Breakers for vividly. And it's like one of those things where, yeah, it happened and people will talk about it like they were there. I'm like, but were you actually there? And how like terrible it was, like try and keep up with these things. And it's like women's soccer at the time was just like falling down on like a very bad slope of, will anyone ever put money into this?
Yeah.
Because no one was really sure because it wasn't really catching on until 2019, right? And then we started getting like the half decent media deals, right? You got the media deals, but they didn't put the production into it at all. I'm like, why are these scorebooks so ugly still? Oh my God. Like, and the names are always like wrong still. They're like starting 11 lineup never looks the same across two teams. Like some teams have a sponsor on their starting 11 lineup, like the one they show on TV, and others don't. I'm like,
yeah, it was a time.
Can we get some consistency in here? It was, but terrible time now that I think about it compared to what we have now. Yeah, you gotta put a whole lot of more money into it to even access it now. But it was overall just terrible quality back then. I'm like, oh my. Sometimes I think about it. I'm like, why did I jump through such great lengths to watch women's soccer? And maybe it was because for me, I was like, I want to be part of something to say I was there built from the ground up. I suffered. It was so bad. And I will talk about it. It happened to me. Right. But in reality, I just sat at home and watched these games with my friends. But as the pandemic started, and then there were like no more sports, no more anything for anyone, I was like, okay, watching sports is now depressing to me because they said literally it was like the middle track scene where like, no, everyone go home. So I literally stopped watching the NSL in the year of 2020. And then I came back to it at like the end of the year going to 2021. And then I remember being like, why does everyone play on a different team now? And it was all like, it was like a tornado ran through the league for me because I like came back and I was like, why do all of these players play on different teams for one? For two, what happened to the Utah Royals? Why are they dying now? And I was like, I remember just being like confused. But what kind of got me back into it really was having the opportunity to like be more engaged in a team in Los Angeles, right? Because it was announced in July. I think it was my birthday. I don't actually remember. And then it's okay, there's a team coming. What am I going to do? I'm 16 years old, right? I'm not going to start a supporters group until I turn 17. I think that's my story up until like the present day as far as how much I've been following for. I used to follow every sport and now I'm like, oh my God, this is too much soccer. There's too much soccer all the time. So I've narrowed it down to whatever sport is in season is the sport I will like hyper focus on. And now that is 24/7 soccer.
Because soccer's in season all year long.
The season.
All the time.
The only season is soccer season.
I can't even be like, NFL's over, it's baseball season.
You're like, WSL is on. Like,
WSL's always on. During my sleeping time. It's like, just like school time right now. I'm not watching these games at 5 a.m. anymore.
Only for the World Cup.
Yeah. World Cup and the Olympics.
Only on the weekends. If I open my eyes, I will attempt to make the effort to turn it on. If I stay awake, that's another task in itself. And if I wake up before the game ends, then it's like an accomplishment that I stayed up that long. Or maybe I just took a really long blink. Because sometimes I blink and then I wake up and I'm like, why is it the 60th minute already?
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, it's
But-
really confusing when you're like, wait, I fell asleep for 10 minutes and it's an hour plus later.
It was the 60th minute when I remember last consciously watching. And now it's the 78th. Why are we losing money on
This one?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So when it comes to Pandemonium, you guys talked a little bit about how you guys formed and like how did you get involved? What pulled you into the group?
I can speak to like how it started and like how we came to it. So if you guys know, like they're in the women's soccer spaces and even at LAFC, Lindsay had this like iconic Lindsay Rojas, she had this iconic banner that said bring NWSL to LA. And I would see them. I think she and her husband had brought that sign to like Paris. And so it was seen like a few times and she would bring it to a couple of games. And I'm an LAFC fan as well. And so I've been at that in the bank since 2018, like when I got like season tickets and I would see that. I was like, yes, I'm all for it. I'm down for it. Let's do this. And I would amplify it on my little social media and I would tell it to my friends and they're like, what is NWSL? And like I said, okay, let me tell you, let me show you, let me pull up Yahoo Sports for you right now and and have you wait for a little bit because they're always like having technical difficulties, but it's okay. And like I would introduce people that way just because like they knew I was like a big soccer head, or at least my friends that way. And so I was like, okay, if they're starting something, like I wasn't really big into joining supporter groups. I know what they are, the ultras. Like I'm not really like one of those people that are like really down to break too many rules. So I was like, let me just support in like some way because that's used to, right? Ultras are usually like wild hooliganism and that sort of culture. I'm like, that's not exactly who I am. I'm down for it, but I wouldn't be one of those folks. I'm not used to that. So I don't want to be a part of a supporter group necessarily, but I do want to support somehow. And I'm all in. I saw on July 21st, 2020, when like the huge launch for Angel City, or at least a team in LA was made, I was like, I'm in. And I was like, where is that flag girl? Or like that, where's that banner girl? And like, where is she at? And then I got to join. And then, so I know that they ended up creating a group and I was a part of it. However, it just didn't quite like match with my schedule or didn't quite like vibe with me. But like, I love the people that I was meeting in there, but I had to separate myself from it just because it wasn't vibing for me. And that's okay. I want to let people know, yeah, we try these things. And that's why our particular community is so beautiful because we have so many different groups and you can link up with who you think like matches your values and like
your
vibes.
Was your quote earlier? Your
vibe attracts your tribe.
There you go.
And so the folks that I met there, I haven't like lost any contact with them, and this was during a pandemic, so it's not like we can like really meet and hug and get to know each other, have a coffee with each other. It wasn't quite safe, but like we created, or like one of my friends, Lauren, she created like a Discord, and that's the Discord that I had mentioned earlier, for a place that we can still have these watch parties that we would have, still play games. It's like a less formal kind of Discord where there are opportunities to create spaces to have a little bit of fun and have a little bit of joy there, not just like reactions and emojis, but like actually create projects together in a collaborative space. And so that was where we would meet. And like the people that I've met in that community, I speak to like literally every day. And so it became just like a natural transition to create like a group of our own. And like we started off really small, and which was lovely because like we all knew each other and like we saw each other at 3:00 in the morning when we would all watch WSL games together. And it just became just like a natural transition. And so myself and two other friends were like, hey, why don't we start our own group? Let's see where this goes. Let's go talk to like our friends in the front office, right? And see, hey, is this even possible for us to start a group? Because I know that there were already other groups forming. We don't know what they had to do in order to come to be. And so like we were told like, hey, like these are some of the things that we expect from official supporter groups. Can you meet that criteria? We were able to meet that, at least like with membership, within 3 days. So
Oh.
yeah, we were able to
You were
be
like, boom, we got
yeah,
this.
we're like, we got this. Hey, we could start it. Like we have that in the community. And these are the people, like the people that just decided to join us. Like we didn't force them to do anything. We're like, hey, we're joining this. So if you want to join, think about it. And they're like, yeah, I don't want to leave you guys. Like I still want to watch, want to watch sports. I still want to talk shit and drink beer eventually, like with you. And like when we're at the bank, or formerly known as the bank, but at BMO eventually, yeah, I'm not leaving you. You know what I mean? We became that close. And so like how we operate, we try to be as like horizontally organized as possible. If possible, like when the group kind of grows and expands past 200 people, but like all of what we do is just with the aim of creating the ideal supporter experience. Remember, I told you like I didn't want to join a supporter group. Like I don't want to cause any trouble. I just want to enjoy the game. I just want to have fun with my friend. And we always have like the idea like what we want to see, like what our imagination, that is what we want to see. And we want to reimagine like what like supporter culture is and create beautiful things. And we have the opportunity with this club. And so that's what I think Pandemonium is. We were birthed out of chaos. And I guess that became like our slogan. And it's not just like how chaotically organized we are. No, we're actually quite organized. But it's the kind of the wild ideas that we have, and it's also the energy that we bring into every space, virtual or in person, and we just grew from there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's an awesome idea of exactly finding the people that you're gonna vibe with, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point of us going to these games, right? Like you go to these games with family, with friends, with people you want to hang out with, people you want to enjoy the experience with, making memories, and it some people you're gonna vibe with, some people you won't, and that's all cool. That's life. That's just how things go. So as long as you find the people that you like, you're all good. You're all set. You're all good.
Exactly. Yeah, and we've been having a pretty good time so far, and it's wonderful to see it grow.
That's fantastic. So you gave us like the background and all of that for Pandemonium. What's your elevator pitch for somebody's okay, like who are you guys? What do you stand for? That kind of thing. If there's just a complete stranger walking up to you, give me going to each like supporter group, like a career fair or something where you're going to all these different tables. What would you tell someone? What would bring them in?
I mean, what I would tell you, like, if you put me in an elevator with you for 5 floors, I would tell you that our purpose is to support Angel City and one another at times, especially in and out their stands. Our name in itself, Pandemonium, does represent our energy, our attitude, and really our spirit. And like Kris was saying, we try to really carry that into all spaces, in person and virtual. And especially through collaborative effort, like Kris mentioned, we try to keep everything as horizontal as possible. So we are always like continuously seeking and trying to implement creatives and really finding transformative ways to kind of up the ante for supporter culture, not just in women's football, but as a culture in itself. But as far as some of our other ventures as Pandemonium, we actively engage in the support for women and non-binary athletes, especially in sports throughout our Los Angeles community, and even extending further out that. We're always advocating and trying to elevate the voices of women, non-binary, trans, and real gender expansive individuals and especially through sport, because soccer is going to be our vehicle and how we try to drive and motivate change. But more importantly, I think Pandemonium, our biggest, not talking point, but our biggest value is to try and be an anti-racist organization that's really just grounded in intersectional principles. And as I said before, trying to foster a community is not only amazing in and out the stands and trying to transform our culture, but trying to foster a culture of radical inclusion, right? And valuing that as a collective, we are always going to be accomplices in trying to fight the systems of oppression that a lot of our members and a lot of women's sports fans are going to be a part of.
That's solid.
That was a solid answer right there. So it shows which one of us is still in college right now. That's like that's a very great, succinct like answer, and I love it. It's
I went to college online. My
Yeah,
specialty
it's-
is Zoom interviews, and like I think I took communications online, and then like I think about
Yeah,
it,
she gave you her
and I'm like,
thesis on
who
supporter
let me
culture.
do that? Because one, why would you have a communications class online?
I mean, I was a comm major and half my
There we
classes
go.
were online in 2000s.
There we
So there's more ways to
Right,
communicate
but it's
than
like
you
calm
think.
one, like how to speak. Period. How
Fair.
to speak,
Fair.
That
let alone like
one-
speak in front of
yeah.
people.
Fa-
And it's like, this is how you write an essay, not an essay, a speech. And then it's like, you have 7 minutes. And then I would like
Speech, yeah.
go through my first draft and it'd be like 10.5 minutes. I'm like, oh,
Oh yeah, I'm the constant. I will look up a half hour if you gave it to me. Just keep going.
I can get something out in 3 sentences. My comm degree, it was like, boom, let's go.
I love
And now, like, when I went to grad school, I'm like, how? They're like, oh, this paper is 10,000 words minimum. And I'm like, that's so many words. I can get this out in 3 pages. Like, what? I don't know. That was an arbitrary number. And that is 20-ish
Yeah.
pages. Yeah. But still, there's been times I'm like, I have to add in fluff because I learned how to write and speak so succinctly that it's like, what am I supposed to do?
I love talking. I love being like, I'm like very sociable. I can talk about anything. I would be so good at Jeopardy. Like, I love learning everything. And it's like, eventually, after like all like the intro classes, where it's like, this is how you need to put in as much information as possible into like every project. And for me, that's not a
Mhm.
problem. And eventually I got to a point where it's like, when did it teach? And I would like listen to like other presentations and stuff. I'm like, when did we get to the part where they like teach everyone how like shut up and just be like concise? Can we get there yet?
Yep.
I'm like, listen to someone talk about
get
Bitcoin for 7 minutes and how to get to the concise part of this deal.
It's about,
Yeah.
I feel like it's like finding your voice first and then
Yeah.
getting to the point. That is the point of like maturity
To
and
be
growth.
fair,
And like that is when you get
because
your
I
degree.
go to school in like an area with a lot of minorities, a lot of the people taking like communications 1 are not English first speakers. So they're taking comms 1 and they're so
Yeah.
nervous, and I feel so bad because I'm like doing it online nevertheless, but like you gotta watch someone else's like 7-minute speech. I'm like, man, I think I would like kind of like start to lose my mind in person and have to like sit through 10 of these in one sitting.
Imagine the professor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
a
is
40-person lab, and you get weeks of the same speech, and you're like, cool, do I have to come?
And
Like,
I,
do
and I
need
feel
to be
bad because
here?
I know it's like my empathetic side is being like, this is their opportunity to like grow, right, and learn skills and learn how to speak.
Mhm.
I don't want to say speak English, but like learn how to speak and not just like write, because you can learn how to read and write, but speaking
Right.
is like a whole nother.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
and that's where they learn how to do that, because there's a thing in Asia where it's like sometimes my dad will be like, come to Vietnam, they'll pay you to teach English. I'm like, 1, I'm not qualified to teach English. 2, I don't know I don't speak Vietnamese well. And he's like, no, that's not what they do. You go there and you just speak to them in English.
It's just English immersion.
And
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's
okay,
English
that I
immersion.
could do.
Good job.
And I realized like a lot of these classes are just English immersion, learning how to speak colloquially around here, right? And even if it's like
Yeah.
common one, like super structured, it's like, where else are you going to get to talk for 7 minutes straight without someone being like, when are you going to be quiet? Right? Besides, like, obviously a podcast,
Probably on a podcast.
Podcast. Like,
one-on-one.
So both of
absolutely,
you,
it's podcast. The
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
is
A
always
podcast.
Oh, it's a podcast. So both of you mentioned that you played soccer or sports in general and things like that as when you were younger. So our 2 next questions are about like favorite memories pre and post Angel City, right? So pre Angel City, what's your favorite soccer memory? Whether it can be a personal one, it could be watching one. Shayla, you already mentioned watching the World Cup when you were like in 2010 and
Like I don't even know
at
what
your
happened.
babysitters. But
it's like the invisible text messages on iMessage. Like that's what the image like looks like to me.
You know what's
Please.
happening.
Yeah.
You have no idea what it is.
But yeah, what would you say your favorite memory is pre Angel City?
For like women's soccer or
Just
soccer?
we
Yeah, if it's women's soccer, great. Or it could be soccer.
we started writing
Right.
it as women's soccer, but then we're like, everybody's been giving us, because women's soccer, or a lot of people's introduction to women's soccer, has more of a recent thing, or they were the OGs and they were there. But like you guys were mentioning, it was hard to access it. So it's hard to have your favorite memory of it because the experience wasn't there, but you had the experience in stadium watching the national team come by, or just your uncle taking you to a game or whatever it was. Like, so at this point we were just saying, yeah, just soccer in general. What's your favorite memory or something that stands out in your
Pre
past?
Angel City.
Yeah.
Pre Angel City. I think one of my favorites is, it's going to be linked to the U.S. Women's National Team. Like that, like watching that greatness, that excellence. Like that's how I fell in love with watching the sport. Like you can't help it. It's just a lot of the moments where have been like really magical. And I just remember like in 2012, I think Shayla mentioned this earlier in one of the conversations, like about just like memories about like women's soccer. But I remember watching in 2012, like with one of my college roommates, I was just getting off of a shift. I was an EMT at the time. I was getting off of a shift, and then I was like, put the game on. And then it was a game. It was a game versus Canada. It was a final. And do you remember like Alex Morgan
Yes.
heads it in, cheers in the face of Abby Wambach? I've never, and at that point, like I never watched anything so dramatic in sports in my life. And it was definitely life-changing. Fun fact, so I went to school here in like Southern California, or like high school, and Alex is around my age. And so she played for high school. She never played for club, but I played for a rival high school. And so like, can you imagine playing against Alex Morgan? Yeah, so like playing against her.
It's like,
playing against her.
cool.
Obviously, like they were just very good. In Diamond Bar, that was like
Oh,
a
yeah.
very good high school program. But yeah, like being one of the schools that has to play against them, it's tough. And like I came from like a school, like you have 24 girls on the team, 24 students on the team. And so like I was in a school that just opened up. Like we were the second graduating class. So
wow.
everybody that tried out me. And so a lot of us like were like, I was like put on defense. I was just a lot taller, and like I would just do a lot more lateral movement. But can you believe
So
it?
you got
I got
against
to
Alex
play
Morgan
Alex
and then
Morgan.
defend Alex
And
Morgan.
against Alex
Oh,
Morgan.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Like,
Yeah, so
as
that's
much as like an honor as it is. Oh yeah, I played against Alex Morgan in high
Yeah.
school. It's also I played against Alex Morgan in high school.
No, exactly. But imagine seeing her like 4 years later.
Just
Shoot
ripping
to
it up.
greatness. Hey, that
Yeah.
is that brunette girl. Like completely demolishing
that name
us.
seems
That
familiar.
name is really familiar. But yeah, what an honor, by the way. But also, yeah, that particular game, like with like my best friends, yeah, we were like roommates at the time, like watching it together. I've never felt that way before until then. So like I, at that moment I was hooked. Like we would watch like women's soccer. We're big women's like basketball fans as well. And so like we would bond that way. But that was my favorite, and yeah, I still think about it like a lot. And it's awesome to see Abby at the game too, because that was a clutch moment.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Yeah. Shayla, do you have a different one, or are you gonna stick with the TV at the babysitters?
I mean, like that's a memory like I know happened, but I can't really say exactly what happened. So it's like it kind of ends there. I couldn't tell you exactly like what happened before or after, what time it was, what day it was. I'm gonna assume it was summertime, but I think my favorite memory for women's soccer specifically will probably be the 2015 World Cup final, because I was like old enough to like digest like the weight of like what the World Cup means, right? And especially like because at that age you're like very very like impressionable. That was like my like peak like patriotism. I think I was like 12, right?
It's different when it comes to
Right,
the
it's
World
different
Cup
when you're
and the
12.
Olympics.
Right, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god. I remember watching the final and just being like I get like really like fever pitchy like at games now, and me back then it's like I'm fever pitchy, but I'm like at home, right? And my parents are like at work, and I'm watching I think it was on Fox? And I'm like texting my friends on like Kick or whatever, because you couldn't have like a phone number at the time, or like Skype chat with like email. And I remember like that was like the first
old,
time.
Shayla.
I feel like, Shayla, you have no idea. All three of us are like 1 foot in the grave right now. Oh, you don't know. You didn't like. Oh no! Like we are so old.
To be fair, Shayla makes us feel this way all the time. Yeah. So
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. I don't like to disclose that information, but
I know.
It keeps you guessing as when
I
she's
think like kind of like
intending to.
happen at different stages of our life. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
for me, it's like this is like 2001 Lakers or whatever. Like for some people, that's like, oh my god, that is like the like they felt that like deep in their core. For me, I feel like the 2015 World
my
Cup
soul.
final, like in my soul,
Chris
as like
and I
a
were
core
both like-
memory. Like for me, this is like when people talk about like the 99ers, and I'm like, man, I don't know. It happened because one, it happened before I was
Oh
born.
my god, this is on purpose now.
Yeah, this is continuing. Yes, right, and it's like those are like core memories, right, for some people, and for me, I'm like, whatever, it happened, and then like what happened for the next 15 years, don't really know. I wasn't really there. I mean, 2012, but like, I wasn't really there. So, but then my 2015 is like, oh my god, I felt that like in my heart, like in my soul, like, oh my god, this is such like a life-defining moment for me. And I'm like, I understand why people like talk so like passionately about like their like late 90s like basketball teams now. Like that for me is like that moment. It's like, man, it's like modern day like 08 Celtics, right? It's like, man, why are you holding on to that so tightly? And then I think about it, I'm like,
I feel like this episode.
The editing on this
like
one
a
is going to be
disclaimer
wild.
for any elder millennial right now.
Yes.
Like, trigger warning, you're going to feel about 300.
Absolutely.
So,
but listen,
going on-
Dynasty era
Yes.
basketball in the
Exactly.
early
right.
2000s.
And for me,
Exactly.
that's like the start of like US 17 dynasty, right? And at
yeah,
like my age, I'm like, oh
absolutely.
my god, right? And then like you think about it, and you're like, well, I really like lived through that. Like it wasn't just like a Wikipedia page to me and like YouTube highlights,
Right.
But, like the dramatic music that starts at the beginning and at the end, and then like kind of like badly cut just to show the goals and like nothing else. But like being there and like watching it and like absorbing it and being like, oh my god, what have I seen? And then like thinking back on it, I'm like, wait, I really like sat there and I just watched all of this happen. And at the time I was like, yay, but like, and you don't really think about like the implications of it until like way after it happens.
You didn't really live, or you grew up in a time where women's teams never lost.
Yeah.
So you just had, and then this past World Cup
And
happens,
then I'm like,
and then you're like,
this is
what?
I mean, it's not like I'm what
What does
because
this
I
mean?
followed sports for a long time, so I know like there are like ebbs and flows, right? Like so many like ups and downs, especially when you like some of the teams I follow are not consistently good, so I know struggle bus, and I just take it as like sometimes
Personal.
they will be, I take it personal, and then I remember it's not a reflection of me and my poor choices, but it's not only me in the trailer. I think of it broadly. I'm like, oh my god, so many other people also chose this suffering.
Yeah, and that's what
yeah.
the beauty of football is. It's elation and suffering in a group.
Absolutely.
Sport in general, the communal suffering.
Yeah.
With forming this SG and having a lot of the SGs, the supporters groups, get really cool access to the team because of how integral these groups are to the atmosphere, to the support, to the players themselves, just hearing you guys game in and game out. What has been your favorite memory since ACFC has started? Like has it been a cool event you guys got to go to? Just a game? A common one is always day one at BMO and the double goals and like all of that. But yeah, what is your favorite memory that you can pull out so far in the short Angel City history?
Gosh, there's so much, Mario.
I need like a
And-
top 5.
Yeah, like if we could rank them.
Dojo, whatever, countdown. It was like the voiceover completed. And then
Oh,
there's
jeez.
like an honorable mention. It's like the rest of the season.
Yeah, if we could rank it, I guess like in no like particular order, but I would say, and it's funny because like
Oh, she's gonna say
I
San Diego
listened to your
away.
podcast from like the very beginning, because like
you.
I love it. You guys are fantastic, and like
I knew there were
there
more
are
people.
yeah. There are like you guys started like around the time when we
my
like
friends
when
that
we
click
completely
play.
yeah like when you guys when ACFC like when the club and the players like completely shifted. So
I'm
like
just saying that we're
yes,
not the cause, but I'm like it can be
it's hard.
correlated.
Exactly.
It's hard to
say.
separate.
It's hard to say.
Our
So
anniversary is June 8th.
there
June
we go.
17th is the coaching change. I'm just
Exactly.
saying.
I was gonna say it
I'm
was
just saying.
right there. And I would say there's moments in your life where do you remember where you were when such and such happened?
I was on the 57 getting Korean barbecue, like on the way to Chris's house.
Do you remember when there was a shift
I was in the car,
universe,
I was
in
like-
the paradigm of ACFC? Yes.
I
Oh my
remember
God.
there was
the coaching
traffic,
shift. Yes.
and it
And-
was like I need to exit not on
Yeah.
Diamond Bar Boulevard, but Tanner Ridge.
Can I
Just
set
like
the
drive
scene for like for some of the new listeners, right? It's casual FC. So for like casual fans that might not be familiar with this, right? And so I'm gonna set the scene like we were losing. Like
A lot.
we-
Yeah, a lot.
I
I'm
would
like,
say
God, I had to
one,
move through, like,
two out of 11 like matches,
It was
like
a
all
rough time.
competitions. It was a rough time. So we were
time we're like, just
depleted.
game by game, and then game
Yes.
by game became a whole month of losing, and we're like,
absolutely.
wow,
Yes. And so I want to set that scene.
God.
Like we were mad as supporters. We'd give everything. Every home
Right, and
game,
at
every
yeah,
watch
and at-
party, we travel, we give everything, and we feel
Yeah.
like we're on the pitch. Like at least I do.
We're
I'm
not
speaking
getting
for myself.
paid to do
We're not
it.
getting
Yeah.
paid. No,
Yeah.
we are suffering
we're like
right
putting
there,
like our
and like
bodies
it
on the
affects
line.
it affects it affects our self-esteem.
Not mine.
It affects
Very much.
at times.
The hatred and the depressingness.
Yeah.
I was rising above, trying to stay positive. I'm like, when are we gonna win again?
And it was hard, right? Trying to, especially like for me being like a leader of my crew, hey, how are we going to like really lift ourselves up? And you know what? We're like, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna be ourselves. We're gonna do the best that we can, but we're gonna let them know that we are not happy. Like and like Mario said, we have access right, to the team, like some of the perks or privileges or whatnot. And we got to talk to Freya. We got to talk to Angela Hughley's. We got to talk to sometimes Allie Riley would hop on a meeting with like supporters, and we weren't happy. We're straight
We're
up
like, girl,
like we are not
we're gonna
happy.
start winning.
When are we gonna win? And obviously, like the community was upset. That changed in June, and we finally went to San Diego. And San Diego is like when it all completely changed.
Yes.
Yes. Like I got good feels there. We were burned
Yeah.
to hell. But yeah, but that is like where it all changed. And that was like a top moment for me.
That game was such like a moment. I think
It was
for
fun.
the entire like the team, the fan base, the front office, it's like everybody just took this big collective deep breath of okay, we hit reset. Like we can
Mhm.
still do this. It was
Yeah.
never it wasn't for lack of wanting. It wasn't for lack of drive.
Yeah.
The right pieces weren't in the right places.
Yeah.
And pieces got moved around.
Yes.
The right pieces were put where they needed to go. And then the
Exactly.
season changed.
Yeah, it was like a magical like light switch. And
Yeah.
I would tell like the group like that I don't think I've ever been that happy before. Like in
Yeah.
my life for
It's
a win.
amazing.
I was watching at home and like I'm there with my mom and I'm like live tweeting the game. And I think one of the tweets I was like, why am I doing this? Like I cannot. I have live tweeted many events for many different sports and different things. And this one I was like, what am I doing? This is the worst mistake of my life.
Exactly.
And the second like that MA goal happened, I think I shot through the roof, came back down and was like, we're gonna win. I felt like the little kid in League of Their Own where he's just like, we're gonna win, you're gonna lose, we're gonna win, and everybody starts freaking out. That was what that moment felt like of, oh shoot, okay, we're good, we're solid, we're fine. Like
Yeah.
any doubt I had previously just gone.
Exactly. Like we could not have been like poised for such joy, or like that feeling, because we were at the depth, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
of the
God.
standings. And
It's like it really did have to get worse before it got better.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
And
think,
it
that,
got,
right?
somehow it got worse.
and I do believe that particular game was basically, we never
was
hit
week
last, but
11
we were always
Of
tied.
22.
It was always
so
tied for
terrible.
last.
Yes, always.
Yeah,
but it was
always tied.
always tied for last. But then it was against, I think San Diego was at number 1 right there. So we were like,
Yes.
yes.
I think also like
They
after we won,
dropped.
they dropped
They
to like
dropped.
4th place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Something,
moved.
like,
Yeah,
it was-
because the top
it was
6 were so
intense.
close, bottom 6 were so close. Yeah,
Yeah.
Isn't it, the parody of this league is so good.
bonkers.
Yeah.
It's been wild, and that's exactly what Pandemonium's about. That is what we're here for. And yeah, that was one of the happiest. Obviously, like October 15th, the LA was also like a joyous time for our club. As supporters, we have a different perspective of it, at least like when we were in the stands. But those are like pretty major, like wonderful
Moments,
memories
yeah.
that I have.
That's fantastic. So where can people go to get more information? We've got your social handles, but like, where do you want to direct people who want to get more information about Pandemonium, want to get involved with you guys? Give us the deets.
You can follow us on at AC Pandemonium on Twitter, X, whatever letter you want to call it, or sound of an animal you want to call it. You can also find us at AC Pandemonium on Instagram or wherever you choose to enjoy your metaverse of apps by Meta. But if you're interested in joining, you can again find us through any of the socials or find our membership sign up on acpandemonium.com. You click the little button that says, I think it says join us question mark. It will just shoot you to the bottom of the website because it's one dynamic page, and you just click the 2024 membership form.
But I also want to invite folks to our tailgates, like whenever we have them. We also have an organized watch parties like throughout the season. Just look out for our socials to promote that. We also have combined ones with our other SGs. And you can also find us at any of the ACFC sponsored ones, which are always a lot of fun. We love kind of building this community and getting people to join the supporter section where like all the ruckus is at. And speaking of the ruckus, we also have drum circles throughout the season too, just to not only practice for drummers and the capos. So myself, I'm a drummer. Shayla is like the lead capo. And so we're always there trying to organize and trying to engage the community a little bit more and get them to know like what supporter culture, at least like how we're redefining it and what that's all about. And so you can meet us there. You don't necessarily have to join the group or anything like that, but you
Yeah,
can
I
definitely
think
find us. And it's
just
always
find us
fun
in
to
the
just kind of
stands.
meet in person. Yeah, find us
Yeah.
in the stands.
Literally just find us
Yeah,
in the
we've been-
stands.
Yeah, we've been sharing recently the drum practices and stuff like that, since they're open to all fans.
So, yeah.
And just to be like, hey, like you said, you don't have to drum, you don't have to be a part of that, but if you just want to learn the vibe and learn the chants and
words.
things like that, just
Yeah.
the words, just go hang out, meet people. There's all the SGs have some drum or capo representation, so like they're all there. You can talk to anybody there, or definitely tailgates. Just any home game, there's going to be a tailgate. So thank you both for coming on. It's been such a fun recording.
Yeah, as old as we
And-
all feel,
Yeah.
Shayla.
I like to humble
It's
my
been a
elder
great time.
millennials. Some may say it's a love language.
We've been humbled enough.
Yes.
I need
So,
to
yeah,
rise
I think-
above, okay? I need to rise above. Isn't that what Gen Zers are all about? Rising above and humbling others.
That's one way to
I'm
put it.
learning.
I will put it like that.
Like they mentioned, make sure to
Change.
follow make sure to follow the pandas on in Instagram, AC Pandemonium, or all their other socials out there. Check out acpandemonium.com
Yeah.
for their info and their join link, but very much go check them out at the tailgates. Check everybody out at the tailgates. That's the whole point of this whole series is
It's like a
You're-
mini tailgate. It's like this little series we're doing.
yeah.
Just go hang out with everybody for half an hour to an hour, depending on how long we were talking.
I love
But-
that. I wish we could have a toast or something.
Yeah.
water bottle
you go.
cup. What do you got?
Waters.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Guys, thank you again for being here, and thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard and you want to hear more of this amazing creative chaos that is Casual FC, make sure you hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a whole bunch more places. Like I've said before, Mario clicks all the buttons when we upload stuff, so I don't even know where this thing goes. It just goes everywhere. Check out Casual FC for all of the different podcast links, our merch. If you have another women's soccer podcast you want to let us know about, you can do so on the website. Share it with your friends, share it with family. Tell people about the podcast. We say it brings us good luck and we give it to the team. We're like hoarding that wealth right now in order to present piggy banks of luck, because I want a damn good season. And I know the other three of these people do too.
Yeah.
So you can find us on social media at Casual FC Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok. And we'll be sharing, like we always have been, any watch parties, any events we see. So you two, make sure you tag us and stuff too, and we'll just add that post all over the place. And if you feel so inclined and you enjoyed getting roasted as an elder millennial on this episode as well, you can help support the podcast by buying us a coffee and contributing to our retirement as we stumble into old age. Check out our links in our social bios or go to buymeacoffee.com/casualfcpod. And we'll see you on the next one, and see you two at the home opener.
Yeah.
Yes,
We
see
will
you
see you
there.
there.
Thank you
Bye,
guys so
everybody.
much. Bye, everyone. Take care.